CNN continues to face scandals. It wants to be trusted, but The Atlantic's interview with CNN CEO paints a bleak picture. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. Trust in the news is historically low. In fact, it's so low that the fact that that article was published by the news is making me think trust in the media is actually high. It's quite a paradox. People are getting fed up with opinionated partisan news that relies more on celebrity icons, sensationalism, or even misinformation as opposed to just presenting the facts. Am I talking about CNN now? I don't know. It really could be any of them. But CNN has had its share of scandals, like the firing of primetime anchor Chris Cuomo after he helped his brother, then New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, fight sexual misconduct charges, and after he ended up with his own sexual misconduct allegation. Like brother, I guess. Or the time CNN CEO Jeff Zucker resigned after he was caught in an inappropriate relationship with a network executive. Scandal after scandal. And with Zucker gone, it was time to bring in someone new. Enter Stephen Colbert showrunner Chris Licht. He replaced Zucker as CEO of CNN Global in May of 2022, shortly after a merger between CNN parent company Warner Media and Discovery. But from the very beginning, many in CNN didn't really like Licht, especially when he pointed out CNN's faults and instructed his producers to downplay the first hearing of the January 6th committee, which would be like asking Tony the Tiger to tone down how he felt about Frosted Flakes. They're just okay. And if Licht was unpopular before, things just got a whole lot worse. Last week, The Atlantic published a 15,000-word piece by Tim Alberta called Inside the Meltdown at CNN. It's based on conversations with nearly 100 CNN employees and an extensive interview of Licht spanning an entire year. Why did it span an entire year? According to Business Insider, some say the original plan was for the story to be published in the fall of 2022 and be mostly about the launch of Licht's brainchild, CNN This Morning. But thanks to various unavoidable delays and the morning show star Don Lemon screwing things up, CNN gave Alberta more time to write the piece. The hope was that given enough time, something good would happen that would salvage CNN's image. But this only gave Alberta even more fuel in an already flaming fire. Alberta just lucked into a way bigger story. This would be like a new reporter getting assigned a fluff piece on a janitorial staff in Enron in 2001. Thanks for the Pulitzer, boss. The article is itself making headlines for its portrayal of Chris Licht, with some calling it brutal, devastating, and CNN's epic PR fail. That's like watching a snuff film. Although watching CNN already feels as bad as watching a snuff film, so no real change there. Why is this so-called brutal press getting so much press? I'll tell you after the break. Welcome back. When Licht replaced Zucker as CNN's new CEO, he made it a priority to restore CNN's reputation as the most trusted name in news. This involved cutting back on overhyping everything as breaking news, as well as toning down liberal bias in order to attract more Republican voters. This is like when Burger King started selling Impossible Whoppers to try and attract more vegans. Was this a bad idea? You bet your buns. And after hearing of these changes, all of CNN thought to itself, wait, we have a liberal bias? Don Lemon was certainly surprised. According to Alberta, Licht told employees that the network had lost its way under former President Jeff Zucker, that their hostile approach to Trump had alienated a broader viewership that craved sober, fact-driven coverage. But no one likes being told they've been doing everything wrong, and CNN journalists are no exception. This put Licht into a two-front war, a fight to win back Republicans as well as to win over his own journalists. Predictably, no one ended up happy. And Alberta's article made that extremely clear. One of the first things Licht did was dial back partisanship, but given that we're talking about CNN, that's like trying to keep a TikToker from eating NyQuil chicken. Licht went so far as to give CNN anchors like Brian Stelter and John Harwood the boot, which isn't really surprising given how they've allowed their bias to influence their quote-unquote reporting. Licht also wanted to avoid marginalizing Republican voices. One of the ways he tried to do that was by having CNN host former President Donald Trump in its town hall last month. The town hall event with Trump made CNN the most watched cable news network that evening. But CNN's ratings plummeted afterwards. Wow, so an apparent ratings stunt didn't make CNN the most trusted name in news? What next? You're going to tell me Impossible Whoppers didn't make Burger King Cow's favorite restaurant? Many considered it a total disaster, mostly because CNN gave Trump control and a platform to promote things like his 2020 election fraud narrative to a pro-Trump audience. Many also took issue with how there were few constraints on Trump, allowing him to mock both the CNN moderator, Caitlin Collins, and writer E. Jean Carroll, who had won a $5 million civil suit against Trump for sexual abuse the day before. And an audience full of Trump supporters ate it up. According to Alberta, Licht knew that the town hall event was going to be extra Trumpy. And some even took that to mean Licht wanted the town hall event to be extra Trumpy. Honestly, given what they've covered over the past 8 years, CNN's motto ought to be extra Trumpy. The impression many people got was that Licht was desperate to keep Trump happy to prevent him from walking off stage, which didn't exactly make Licht look good, but the article's behind-the-scenes details about the CNN town hall weren't the only problem for Licht. The story seemed to depict Licht as someone who was antisocial and obsessed with his own public image. For example, there was one anecdote about a time when he spent much of a holiday dinner for some of CNN's journalists on his phone reading a critical story about him in Puck instead of interacting with his employees. According to the article, Licht was trying really hard to make himself the complete opposite of Zucker, and reportedly feared that Zucker was retaliating with hit pieces against him. Business Insider thought the whole story portrays Licht as someone who is more obsessed with his predecessor and the way he ran the company than someone with a good or even well-articulated plan for how to lead CNN into the future. Licht even moved his office from the 17th floor, where the main hub was, to the 22nd floor, apparently just so he wouldn't be in Zucker's old office. This also didn't help his reputation in CNN for being antisocial. He even trash-talked Zucker while he worked out. At the same time, some believe Alberta's story makes Licht look like a weenie, someone who put on a show of being tough but shied away from candid conversations with his people. At least he wasn't a Weenie Hut Jr. fan. There seems to be so many communication issues that CNN staffers didn't even know where their boss was or what exactly he was doing. This story embarrassed a lot of CNN staffers. Well, more embarrassed than usual to be working for CNN. Licht later apologized to his staff over the Atlantic magazine profile. Licht also confirmed that he was moving his office down from the 22nd floor of CNN's New York headquarters in order to be closer to the network's news team on the 17th floor. Nothing says man of the people more than moving your luxurious office into another luxurious office, but one slightly less above all your peon employees. He pledged to work to regain their trust, and what better way to do that than by stepping down? Yeah, it seemed everybody in CNN is already all set against him, and for the wrong reasons. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. In just a year since taking office and less than a week after the Atlantic story, CNN CEO Licht stepped down from his position. Even before the Atlantic story came out, many, especially on the left, weren't happy with Licht's ideas of reforming CNN. Regardless of what you may think of Licht's execution, Licht recognized that Trump had goaded the media with outrage porn, and journalists fell for it and focused on sensational stories against him. He saw that people were tuning out because of this. Licht also recognized that it's important to actually hear from Republicans, including Trump supporters, even if he disagreed with them. Licht was quick to point out several blind spots in CNN, such as CNN's coverage of COVID, one-sided fact collection, lack of diversity of thought, and suppression of the truth out of a fear of certain outcomes. You know that old Journalism 101 tip, if the truth's a mess, suppress, suppress, suppress. A lot could be said about COVID alone. CNN barraged people with fear-mongering and pushed misinformation by dismissing the COVID lab leak theory out of hand, which the FBI and Energy Department now consider most likely. It did that allegedly because the lab leak theory sounded like a xenophobic gambit that endangered Asian Americans and a Trump talking point. So if it's something Trump talks about, they wouldn't air it? That makes no sense. Since 90% of what Trump talks about is Trump, and that's 99% of what CNN talks about. Things like that really turned off a lot of people. And Licht pointed out where CNN's COVID coverage had gone wrong. Licht was right to criticize CNN's coverage, yet for some reason some people think it's naive. Lots of people don't like Licht's idea of not being a biased advocacy network and have even accused Licht of intentionally making CNN objectively right-wing, which is like saying, how dare they turn this propaganda network into a propaganda network we don't like? Furthering those suspicions are when people above Licht, like leading Warner Brothers Discovery shareholder John Malone, publicly say the U.S. needs Fox News. He basically said that because Fox balances things out. It's kind of like how Anakin Skywalker brought balance to the Force by becoming Darth Vader and destroying most of the Jedi. Doesn't mean it's good, but it's balanced. That's also a perfect analogy because Rupert Murdoch is definitely the Emperor. Motivations aside, there are a lot of problems in CNN that Licht rightfully pointed out. But according to Alberta, some of Licht's journalists were dead set against him, believing his approach was a recipe for false equivalency. They believe having a both sides approach to journalism is dangerous because it enables bad actors to spread disinformation and undermine the U.S. But how do you determine what's disinformation and what's not? The best way to tackle that is by presenting multiple sides and weighing the evidence, regardless of how people would interpret it. The problem with journalists who talk about false equivalencies and try to deplatform liars is that they assume that they have the absolute handle on the truth. According to Alberta, Licht repeatedly said, some people like rain, some people don't like rain. You can't tell me it's not raining when it's raining. But in that regard, Licht made the same mistake as everyone else at CNN. He assumed that he always had enough information to know when it's raining. People in the CNN camp assume that they're the champions who stand up for decency and democracy and dialogue, and that they don't give platforms to those who lie, well, except for themselves, of course, but only for the greater good. But have they ever considered and admitted the times they've spread disinformation, showed no decency, promoted anti-democratic ideas, shut down dialogue, and lied? Don't get me started with all the stories CNN botched. Sometimes these people conflate Democratic Party interests with the interests of democracy as a whole, and depict those who they disagree with as a danger to democracy itself. That type of partisanship and lack of self-awareness is why CNN is becoming less popular, less trustworthy, and less profitable. So maybe Licht was onto something, until he was fired. Good thing if you want truthful, nonpartisan news, we've always got America uncovered. So what do you think of CNN? Leave your comments below. And remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/America Uncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell, and for watching America Uncovered.